Welcome back to my next playthrough series. This time I'm going to be doing Darkest Night. This is the first edition. This is not the second edition. I do have the Necromancer bundle, which came with all 4 expansions plus the base game. So there's a lot in this game, which is basically second edition, but I didn't feel the need to actually buy the second edition because I actually have this version. Has a slightly smaller map than second edition. Some of the rules are slightly different, I think, but it plays pretty much exactly the same. The idea of this game here is we have 4 heroes, which I'm using D&D miniatures for. There's little standees that I'm going to use the 3D miniatures, and I have our Necromancer. I'm just going to use this D&D miniature for him. So I basically set everything up. Not going to go over the rules too much because we're going to see, of course, the rules happening as we play. So for the setup for the board, we basically have our 4 heroes start here in the monastery. And we'll take a look at each of our 4 heroes here in a second. Their skills and abilities and things like that. They do have 2 values on their card. They have a grace value, which is kind of like their life, and they have a secrecy value, which is kind of how hidden they are to the Necromancer. And on the board we have 5 blights that start the game. They're just randomly chosen through a map card. We have a bunch of decks. The map deck, basically for startup, you shuffle and pull one, and it tells you in the mountains what of the blights to put in there, and you don't put one in the monastery. And this is also for searching. So that's how the map deck works. Again, you'll see it in action as we play. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 blights out on the board. We'll look at each one of those individually as well. And you can see here locations we can go to. We have the village, the mountains, the castle, the swamp, the ruins, and the forest. The gist of the game is we are trying to find a holy relic, and which is basically one of these. There's 4 locations for the holy relic on the board. And with the holy relic, then we can directly attack the Necromancer. And if we kill the Necromancer, which we need a 7 to do, the holy relic gives us +1 on a 6-sided die. So if we roll a natural 6 and have a holy relic with us and attack the Necromancer when he's in a spot with no blights, because blights disappear first, then we'll win the game. We lose the game, of course, if we get 4 or more blights in the monastery. So each location can have a total of 4 blights. If you have more than 4 blights, any excess blights will then go to the monastery. If the monastery gets its 5th blight, you lose the game. Very, very tricky game. So let's take a quick look at the hero turn. I'll kind of explain how the hero turn works. Then we're going to look at each of our heroes. We'll take a look at the blights, some of the items and stuff we can collect in the game. So this video is basically going to be a setup and introduction, and the next video will start the actual gameplay, because there's quite a bit to this game. I know it's been out, I think, since 2012, so it's not a new game, but it is quite fun if you can get the Necromancer bundle. It comes with everything. Of course, the second edition is out right now as well. So let's take then a quick look at the hero turn. Okay, so on the back of every hero sheet, now there's 25 of them in the Necromancer bundle. I think there's 29 in the second edition. You get this handy reference sheet. It basically tells you that the hero turn consists of, in any order the heroes can go. So you have 4 heroes, they can go in any order, it doesn't matter. So there's going to be a hero turn, and then Necromancer turn. Then a hero turn, a Necromancer turn, you just keep going back and forth. If you lose a secrecy if the Necromancer is in your space when you start your turn. This is the very beginning. And you lose a secrecy if you're carrying a holy relic. We'll see how secrecy works when we get to the Necromancer's turn. And then we resolve any start of turn instructions on power cards. We'll take a look at each of our characters' power cards here in a second. And then we get an event card. Events are usually bad things that are happening to you. But you skip this step if you're in the monastery. All of our 4 characters start their turn in the monastery. So for the very first turn, we're going to be skipping that. And then if the Necromancer's present and your secrecy is 0, you have to fight the Necromancer. Otherwise, draw an event card. If your secrecy is 0, yeah, you will be fighting the Necromancer. He finds you. And then you can perform one action and only one action. Okay, and all the actions are listed here. And then at the end of the turn, if there's blights in your location have end of turn effects, you have to resolve them. And if you spend your entire turn in the monastery, you can gain a secrecy up to your default, and you'll see that on the player cards in a second. Over we go to actions. Well, you can travel, and when you move, you gain 1 secrecy up to 5. And you can hide as another action, refresh your powers, gain a secrecy up to 5. You can attack, fight a blight or the Necromancer to try to destroy it. You lose a secrecy for trying to attack something. You can search, roll against search difficulty, that's listed on the map, you'll see that. And draw 1 map card per success, and then you choose one of the items you get. And you can pray if you're at the monastery only. You're going to be rolling 2 dice. You gain a grace up to default for each 3+, and 3+ you roll, and you can refresh your powers. And then you can retrieve a holy relic. It says here discard 3 keys to take a holy relic location. We're not going to be playing that way because we have all the expansions. When we get a key result on a search, we're actually going to be looking at a mystery card. Mystery cards allow us to get clues, and when we get clues, once we have 10 clues, we can go ahead and retrieve a holy relic. So that's how we're going to be doing that in the playthrough. That's with all the expansions involved. And a power, there's cards, power cards that say action on them. If they say action, you use the effect of the power card. Whew, high level. Alright, let's take a look, I guess, at our 4 characters. I'll show you their cards a little bit here. And their starting abilities cards. And then we'll take a look at the individual blights that are out on the map. And from there, I guess that'll pretty much wrap up our introduction and setup. So let's take a look at our characters. So we'll start with the Ranger and the Monk, then we'll look at the Wind Dancer and the Scout, and I chose those randomly as well. Alright, so the first 2 I'm going to start off with is we have the Ranger and we have the Monk. And they have this little sun and moon symbol on them. This is just to help us keep track of who has had their turn and who hasn't, because you can take your turn in any order you like. So if the Ranger went first, we just say, okay, we're going to flip him over to the moon side, so we can keep track of that he did, in fact, have a turn. He starts with 5 grace and 7 secrecy. The Monk starts with 4 grace and 6 secrecy, so slightly different there. The Ranger, in this version of the game, Necromancer bundle game, we have 10 cards. So we have a deck. These are shuffled. These are the 7 we didn't pick. There are 4 cards that have this little green symbol on them, and you get to pick 3 of the 4. So let's take a quick look at our Ranger abilities. He has Race the Hare, which is a tactic. He can elude with 2 dice. If you roll a 6, you must move to an adjacent location. So this is one of his abilities. You'll see how this works when we play the game. He has Poison Arrow tactic. Can fight with 3 dice. The highest die equals the target number you both succeed and fail the roll, which is alright, yeah, so if you tie, well, you'll again see how that works. And you have Track, which is really cool action. You can exhaust the cards, so flip it over. We won't be able to use it till we hide or rest. Exhaust to travel and then search. That basically gives you a couple actions at one time, because you can only, one of the actions is to do a search, one of the actions is to do a move. But with our Ranger, he can actually, with that particular action, he can move and search at the same turn, which is pretty awesome. Now let's take a look at the Monk. Again, he had 4 of these. We've chosen 3 of them. He starts with Clarity. Let's hope this is clear on the screen. Bonus, add 1 to your highest die when searching. And he has a Chi bonus. Let's take a look at the Chi. So the bonus for Chi is you can exhaust to use the Chi effect from one of your powers. So we would just exhaust this card. And then the Chi effect is use after search to choose a result from another location. So you basically get to pick any one you like. And he has Quiet, which is elude using 2 dice, Chi tactic. Elude with 5 dice, gain a secrecy if you roll a 6. So those are our Monk's abilities. Alright, let's take a look now at the Wind Dancer and the Scout. Alright, so we have the Wind Dancer, has 4 grace and has a secrecy of 6. Our Scout has 4 grace and a secrecy of 7. A little bit sneakier. Again, they each have tokens on them. Same deal. Let's take a look at the Wind Dancer's abilities. She's got Wind Dance. Action, clear this card, then roll 3 dice and place them on the card. So she basically has a buff up ability. Whenever you roll wind dice, you may in addition use dice from this card, removing each one you use. So this is pretty powerful stuff, and you'll see why. So she has things like Slipstream. It's an action, roll a die when traveling, and then you you roll 1 die and you apply all of these. Well, if you have 3 dice on here, you can also use this multiple times from this particular card, which is really cool. It says whenever you roll wind dice, you may add addition dice from this card, removing each one you use. Really cool. So, you know, gain a grace, may move an extra time, that kind of thing for Slipstream. And then she has Gale. Roll a dice when you fight, and you add these things to them. So, very cool. So this is the Wind Dancer. It's basically Storm. And then with the Scout, again, the same thing. We've got our 3 starter cards. Scout's got Blind Spot. Action is hide. Raise the secrecy of 1 hero at your location to your current secrecy. So she can help you hide if you're in the same location. And we have Speed Tactic. Elude with 1 die and add 1 to your highest die roll. Exhaust after rolling to add 2 to your highest die instead of adding 1. So this can help out getting away from enemies. And Cross Country as an action, exhaust to move twice and gain 2 secrecy up to 7. That is pretty awesome too. So that's what our Scout's abilities are. Alright, I'm going to back the camera out, and then we're going to take a look at the blights on the board. We'll take a quick look at the cards come in the game, and I think we're going to wrap it up and begin our playthrough next time. In the first episode, I guess we'll call it. We'll do this intro, first episode, and then episode 2 will be actual gameplay. Alright, so there's a bit of a high level here. We have a tracker that goes from basically 0 up to 30, and bad things happen along the way. In the expansions, when you get to 10, we're going to be drawing a Darkness card. Darkness cards are really, really bad. You don't want them, but we're going to probably eventually get there. When you get to 20, you create an extra blight in each location. It gives you extra instructions along the track. Well, we'll get to that when we get to it. So we have a clue token here. When we get to 10 clues, we can cash in 10 clues to get a relic. We need the relic, of course, to attack the Necromancer, try to kill him. And the Necromancer has his own little tracker here, which is a little skull symbol moving along the track. So our Ranger is going to be using a little D&D miniature here. Our Monk will be this one. And our Wind Dancer will be this one, and our Scout will be this one. And of course the Necromancer I already showed you, is just this little plastic. So they come with little standees, but I'm using little D&D miniatures, just a little bit easier to see, I think, on the map. Okay, let's go over the blights. In the forest, we have this starting blight, which is Stigma. And the Stigma basically says, this focuses, it's -2 to your default grace. So if you attack it and you don't get a 5, you fail it, you're going to lose a grace. What Stigma does, it affects all locations, affects everywhere, which means our default grace on every one of our characters, like our Monk here is at 4, his default grace now with Stigma out there is 2. It's not good. Not good at all. We have Corruption in the Village. What is Corruption? There's no bonuses on it, so it doesn't do anything. But when you try to get rid of it, if you fail, you're going to exhaust all your powers. That's pretty bad. And like I said, some of the blights are a little bit benign. They don't do a heck of a lot, but they sit there and they build up. And like I said, if you get 4 blights in a location, you have to add a 5th one. It goes over to the Monastery. The Monastery gets 5 blights. You lose the game. So we have Terror in the Mountains. Terror in the Mountains. What does Terror in the Mountains mean? It means when you have to roll 1 die and discard the highest. So when you attack it, you have to roll 2 dice and get rid of the highest one. So the odds of beating it are not as great. And if you fail against it, you have to exhaust a power. So that's not a great one. It's also, so the near Void is also very nasty. It doesn't do much, but it counts as 2 blights. So this one counts as 2. You need a 7 to get rid of the Void. So we're going to need a +1 somehow. I think Wind Dancer and the Monk both have that ability. Otherwise, if you try to beat it and you don't succeed, nothing else happens. But of course you have to do an action. We have Wraiths in the Swamp. They are basically creatures, and to end your turn there, you have to either defend against them or you have to elude them. If you don't, you fail and you lose 2 grace, or you get hit twice. If you directly attack them, you need a 4, and if you fail that attack, you take a hit. Alright, and we have the Enigma down here in the ruins with the Necromancer. +1 search difficulty, that's for every location. You need a 4, has no other effect if you fail against it. Getting rid of the Enigma might be a good idea. And there's search numbers on each location. So for instance here, in the forest, the search difficulty is 4. Well, with this blight out, it becomes 5. It's not great. So those are the starting blights. I do have on the back of the main thing is the Necromancer turn. I glazed over that quickly. I won't read through all this. This is how the Necromancer activates. Basically, you increase the darkness track 1, and then he rolls a die, compares all the hero's secrecy, and then he creates a blight. Basically, that's how it happens. If an location has 4 blights, create one in the monastery instead. And I said if the monastery has to add its 5th blight, you lose the game. There's a whole bunch of items you can get from searching. Again, I won't go through all of them. So this is the base game items. There are keys. We're not using keys. We're going to be using mysteries and getting clues. We have treasure chests. Discard to draw a power card, bottled magic, vanishing dust, waystone. You can just pause and take a quick look at those. Other search results, you can get an artifact. You can get an epiphany. You get a forgotten shrine or a supply cache. So all of these things are good for us. And on the backs of the other expansions, so it's the 4th one. We have different blights that we haven't gone through. We have other items here. Cursed Ashes, a skull token. Scion Stone, doing different things. Other searches, we have Inspiration, Revelation, and Stardust for that one. And yeah, there's lots. Items, we have a Charm. We have the Soothing Leer. If this is a focus, I hope it's focusing. And we have the Tome of Retaining. Wow. And we also have Inspiration, Stardust again on this one. Of course, a bunch of other blights. Goodness. So that's how we're starting off our game. So when we come back in the next episode, we're just going to get into it. We're trying to defeat the Necromancer. He's basically just going to be running amok, trying to ruin our day. And we're going to see if we can put him down, put him in our place. Maybe this is a very difficult game. I find it's very difficult to win. But we'll have a lot of fun with it, I hope, along the way. I guess I should show you quickly the cards. So these are the map cards. They just have map on them. And on the back, they have basically when you create a blight in a location. So if we want to create a blight in the swamp, we would put wraiths there. And all of these cards have different effects on them. And again, if you search in the castle successfully, you get a skull token. So these are the search effects. So those are the map cards. We also have the lovely event cards. I'm not going to flip these over yet. They have events on them, which are, of course, not good. If you're outside the monastery, you're going to get an event card. We have mystery card deck. These are what we're trying to discover the mysteries, to get the clues, to get the holy relics. And then we have the all lovely darkness card. We get one at when the darkness track hits 10. We get another one when it hits 20. They are bad. We have quest cards. We can optionally start with a quest in the village. I've decided not to. These will come up through event cards. And then we have artifacts. These are just kind of powers or items or things that give us a boost. Also useful for us. And there's a whole stack of those. Whew, I think I've covered pretty much everything. So when we come back, we're going to start this game with the first turn. Of course, our heroes go first, then the Necromancer goes, and that'll be it. So thanks so much for watching along. Thanks for your comments, subscriptions, likes. This is Darkest Night First Edition with the Necromancer bundle, which comes in a great big box. I don't know if this will focus, but this is the slip cover for the box, and actually pretty cool. Darkest Night, the Necromancer bundle. So thanks so much, and we'll see you in the opening episode where we take our turns. So thanks so much, and we'll see you then.